Happy spring, everyone, and welcome to Granite Paradise. Thanks for checking out the channel if this is your first time with us. We are already at episode 4 of this sculpture project, and we are now finally on our way up off the ground. In today's video is where we start making some eye-catching progress, or more correctly, the progress we have really been making all along just now starts to become eye-catching. This is also where we can see a lot of the more exotic stones being used, so I'm glad that you decided to come along for the adventure.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I'm a rockaholic. I think you guys can get the idea from this humble beginning of what I'm trying to do. So this will end up being a shelf for some rocks, and it also exposes a nice broken edge of some beautiful material. I believe this is Himalayan white, if I remember, from India. I could be wrong. Here's a beautiful graphic granite. I told you, John, that I would do a spray down next time. I'll really do it good when we're all done. But look at these. Look at this pattern in the feldspar. That's a really nice. Yeah, when this is all sprayed off and cleaned, it'll be exotic. This is all garnets. This slab is from Brazil. It's got a white marker line on there I need to scrape off with a razor blade. Yeah, that's some really rare material there, in the sense that this was just we called it a birthmark in the end of a slab. It was a big cluster of garnets, all in basically a yellow granite slab. And the customer didn't want it. So I brought a lot of that home. I think we had like 5 slabs, and the birthmark was like probably as big around as this sculpture, and I brought it all home. It's all scattered around here. Here's, of course, Violet Paradiso. This is more Violet Paradiso. Paradiso is one of my favorites, so I'm trying to show it off here.
Paradiso is a Precambrian migmatite, also from India.
Yeah, that's a nice piece there. Of course, here's Blue Pearl that you guys maybe are getting tired of. I showed so much Blue Pearl earlier. More Violet Paradiso. Trying to have these bigger pieces showing as much as we can, and then the bulk of the sculpture, or the body of it, will be made of everything else. And the idea here, if you can tell, is as long as I keep my weight, you know, my columns, so to speak, centered over those legs, I should probably be able to go 30 feet high and still be fine. I'm not going to, but it's a very strong structure. Anyway, there you have it. It's taking shape, and we will proceed.
My goal in this project is to build in such a way that as many spaces or niches as possible can be provided to house different rock collections, while at the same time exposing many different exotic stones from around the world being used in the structure itself. I can't think of a better way to show off rocks than to have them placed on shelving made out of equally amazing rocks.
We're looking at a piece of what in the industry we used to call vintage. And it's a granite pegmatite. You can clearly see the very nicely striated quartz. I'm showing this piece because it's going to be completely covered by the next. But look how clear the quartz is. So this is very well supported here. This is over the leg. We're going to bring about a 56 inches or so long spectacular green piece of Verde Fantastico. So it's going to bridge across here. And then I also wanted to show you guys, although I think most of this is still going to show, this is Verde Fuco, which is a unikite from Australia. Again, I want to point out I'm trying to expose mostly broken edges, natural edges. Yeah, that's really nice stuff. This will be one of our shelves. And you can kind of see in here, they kind of get covered up or over, you know, with overhang, but you can still see them, especially when the light's right. And we could fit a lot of rocks in here, so you get the idea. It's already starting to take shape.
Most of the material being used here is completely random. There are rectangular trimmings from the saws as well as triangular broken pieces. There are huge cumbersome slabs as well as pieces that are little more than shards. This random mix makes it particularly challenging to construct, yet it creates a wonderful rustic look that is really unmatched by any of my other creations.
I decided to make some changes. Took a few pieces off, put a few pieces on. Trying to make best use of the material and create as much free space as possible. I do have another new color for you guys, a new variety. And I need to show this to you because it's going to be covered up, unfortunately. So, because this piece is extra thick, the stuff here has to be extra thick to try to keep things level. But look at the beautiful garnets in this. Here we're actually looking at two different nices. I think this nice with the garnets is from Brazil. Can't remember the name of it. It might be Aurora Borealis. Doesn't have enough blue in it though. So I think it's something else. It's one that we had many years ago. And by the way, it is 90 degrees today. For those of you who know anything about Colorado's weather, this last week or so has blown the record books to shreds as far as high temperatures go. Here's my cactus already blooming. It is the first day of spring, March 21st. This is usually when we get the most snow, so we're a bit concerned.
I told you guys in the previous video that looking around here we have lots of stashes. So here's the big piece of Verde Fantastico that I was talking about. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of here so we can look at it and measure it good and make sure it's going to work. This is a good opportunity for me to remind you to always err on the side of caution when moving heavy things, and especially when it comes to stone slabs like this. When we are working on stone projects, we want to calculate carefully every step in the process. This piece is not that big, but it is definitely big enough to really hurt me if I do something foolish, or if I underestimate the possibilities of it cracking in half, tipping over, pivoting unexpectedly on a piece of gravel or a stick, things like that. Probably rule number one is that stones, especially materials with veins and patterns, should always be stored standing up. Same rules as one would apply to glass sheets. Since I am by myself here, I am only sliding it over enough to be able to get it out in the open so that I can get a good look at it. I will definitely not try to pick it up. Very conveniently, this has a hole here where I can grab it and pull. The reason I bring up the veins and patterns is that these features, which can really make a stone appealing to the eye, are also inherently weaknesses within the original material. That's why the different minerals were able to get in there in the first place, because there was a crack or a fracture that later became a vein. Hopefully you can notice the fiberglass mesh or fabric that is epoxied to the back of the slab. This doesn't really prevent a piece from breaking, but it will hold it together long enough for guys to react and get out of the way.
Okay, so I was able to get that out of there easy enough. There's another piece I can use. Actually right there. Nice. Yeah, this is beautiful material. Lighting's not the best, but at least now I can measure it and see what we got. I estimated it at 56 inches, just kind of measuring the air, you know, because I couldn't get, even now I'm having a hard time getting the tape on it. Yeah, we've got, at least to the point, we've got a full 5 feet, 60 inches. A little bigger than I was wanting. And then this way we've got 25. So let's see what that's going to look like. 60 inches by 25. Yeah, I'm a little concerned it's too big. Let's assume going from there. Yeah, see here we're at 48 inches. So it's going to protrude about 6 inches on each side, which might be a bit much. All right, I'll have to think about this. I'm planning on it going here, actually. All right, here it's a few inches less. 6 feet would bring us out to here. Split the difference out that end. Yeah, it's going to be pretty big. That's probably about as wide as I'm going to want the sculpture to come, but it does work. So we'll bring that over here in a bit. I think that's going to look nice. So pretty much this side here will be entirely a huge green shelf, and I'll of course continue the structure upward from there, but a lot of it will still be showing.
Here we are, it's the next day. My son postponed until this afternoon. He's going to come help me, and I'm kind of glad he did, because I looked things over. I really want to make sure this thing is solid before I get any higher. So I actually spent a couple hours off camera, just because I don't want to bore you guys too much. But I basically looked for gaps, especially where I think strength is going to be needed, which is especially directly above the legs. So I filled in quite a few gaps, and let me show you what that entails. I also changed this whole section. I took off a couple pieces and switched them out in an effort to get it more level. So this is called eyeballing. I like to look across and have it pretty flat. I mean, obviously, I see a little bit of unevenness, but it's way closer than it was yesterday. So I think I've improved there. But here's an example of what I mean by filling in the gaps. So I put this piece in here, and that's a little too loose. That's not going to hold anything up. So, by the way, that's a cool piece of conglomerate. It's actually Marinachi Black from Brazil. And here's a nice piece of Volga Blue. Yeah, I think this is Volga Blue, and the other one is Blue Polari. You can see the pearlescent feldspar there. But it's going to be sacrificed. So this one fits almost too tight, but I'd rather have it kind of tight. Actually, what's catching, I can guarantee you, what's catching is this mesh. So I'm going to try to scrape off just a little bit of this mesh. And I just rub it on the sharp edge of this chipped blue pearl. So just picture hours and hours of this, guys. What did I say? I think in the last video about those chapters in our life that seem like we're just tediously toiling with not much change. This is one of those. Alright, so now it'll fit. Almost a little tight. There we go. Perfect. So when I pound this piece in, it pulled this one out. But luckily it's still loose enough. I can just shove it back in. Trying to keep things tidy. Because remember, I don't want a lot of weird angles sticking way out, blocking where I'm going to put rocks. I want a nice, big empty space here. I hope to have several nice spaces like that all around the sculpture. So wherever there's big jagged angles sticking out, I try to avoid that. So when we come and lay that piece of, I always forget the name, Verde Fantastico on here, I want it to be very stable. Because that piece is probably between 160, 180 pounds, thereabouts. And there's going to be a lot more than that going on here. So I really want it to be stable. But in the process of making those changes, remember I said this beautiful piece of nice with the garnets was going to be sacrificed? I got it taken out, so I can still put it where it'll show. Same thing with this granite pegmatite that I showed you guys. And I'm really liking the broken edge look. So I'm not sure if I'm going to incorporate the sink cutouts that I showed you guys earlier or not. I may see how it goes without them. It's all decisions that kind of get made as we're plugging away. We're really limited to what we have. I'm thrilled with it so far, though. It's going to really hold a lot of rocks and look attractive at the same time.
This is my awesome son, Steve. He's going to be the muscle man and help me get this over there. So we've got a few things we need to do. Let's walk over and I'll show you where we're going first. So I put a brick here in case we want to take a break. So when we come over, we can set it down on the brick and regroup. It's about between 160 and 180 pounds. And then we're going to come up. I guess I'll have you on. I have you on this end. So we're going to go over the sculpture
is set down. You're going to set down roughly in the middle of this triangle, right? And then you're going to hold it up and down while I walk around here, and then I'm going to lay it down. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, let's go do this. The adventure continues. First, what we're going to do here is I'm going to pick up this end, and you're going to slide that board under. So that I guess I'm going to be on this end. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, now you can get your hands under there. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Keep it straight up and down, and don't let your feet get under it if it cracks. It has mesh on the back, so even if it were to crack, it should hold together. Are you all right?
Yeah.
We'll go to the brick. Okay, which is the shoulder that you had trouble with?
This shoulder.
Do you want to switch?
Yeah, so I'd rather carry it like this.
Right, or do you want to switch ends? Whichever's easiest.
What makes the difference?
Whatever's better for you. So it's like,
No, we're gonna keep it vertical and then set it on triangle.
yep. Are you okay on that end, or do you want to be on this end?
I don't think it makes a difference as long as I can carry it like this.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, watch your step there. Okay, go down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna come around.
This right here.
You could actually let go. Got it from there. Flawless. Oh, too far. Yeah, I think just looking at it, you can come around here. Oh yeah. This is about perfect. So that, I don't want to get any closer to the path than this. But there it is. Verde Fantastico from Saudi Arabia. That's a long ways away to get a rock. Yeah, that doesn't wobble at all. All right, thank you so much, Steve. Do the thumbs up. You gotta.
Let's step it up a bit and go back to Minion Mode for a while, or this video is going to get to be far too long. I think that by now you can appreciate the basic process here. We are positioning larger and more interesting stones in such a way for maximum visibility, while always ensuring that there is a continuous column of uninterrupted support above each of our 3 legs. This avoids the placement of heavy burden over unsupported spans of material. I am trying to keep an artistic flow and appearance combined with architectural stability, all while making as much space available for future rock displays as possible. I never want to have a reason to stop getting more rocks. The architectural stability and strength is likely the most important, and this goes back to what we talked about earlier when laying the foundation of this sculpture. We can cut corners on the beauty and on the space, but not on the stability and strength. That is why you see me inserting and removing pieces again and again from the same spot, because they have to fit just right.
I think I made my decision. I am going to use these circles and the sink cutouts that I have over on the other side of the yard. The pile of exotics that I showed you. But at this point, you can really see the look I've been trying to achieve. I don't want it to look like shelves, but I want it to be shelves, and that's hard to do. So like, I'm looking on this side, plenty of space for rocks, but it's a little too uniform. Now I'm not going to redo it, but I'm just modifying my design as I go. So I like that they be at different levels, such as on this side. This side is much more appealing to my eye. I mean, it's really a matter of taste. But so we have a really huge open space here where large rocks can go. Then down here is small. Here's a beautiful round of the same Verde Fuco from Australia. Here's another little round sticking out here. Of course, the Verde Fantastico. So I really like these sides here. I think that's more the look I'm trying to achieve. I want it to be as random as possible. And I need to bring over the sink cutouts so that I don't end up having all rounded sink cutouts at the end and all jagged at the bottom. Look at this beautiful Marinacci black. I want to show these to you guys because a pretty good portion of them will be covered up. I'm hoping to leave this part of this exposed, and I'll show you why. Of course, I've always said every rock's a snapshot. Some people say every rock tells a story. Pretty much the same thing. But so this is an ancient riverbed. The reason I say it's a riverbed is you can see the rocks are generally aligned. In fact, they almost have that imbrication that we looked at in the recent Yellowstone video about the flat rocks. They're kind of inclined this way. I might be reading much into it. But notice the stark boundary right here between where there's generally smaller gravel aligned in a certain direction, a few bigger pieces in there, and then suddenly it's all big and then with very fine sediment in between instead of the little tiny gravel. So something happened there back eons ago, and I need to make sure I leave at least some of this showing for posterity, because once the sculpture is built you won't see it. This will probably be covered up, but beautiful material. Of course, we have more blue pearl here. That's a big old style sink cutout. Those of you who have been here and have heard my little spiel about the history in the granite shop. So I used to cut the sinks by hand, and I would cut these two corners, 2 angle cuts, or sometimes 3, and then break the corner out. And then we started drilling them, and now we have, of course, CNC machines. But so that's a beautiful piece of material. Now the sun's out. Now the sun's out on this. Very cool. And of course we have the Verde Fantastico from Australia. More Verde Fantastico. For those of you, the names in the stone industry have nothing to do with what the stone is. I'm thinking this is a unikite. Everything's dirty right now, but we're gradually going to get it cleaned off. And of course our spectacular Verde Fantastico. I need to research this. I honestly don't remember if it's Iraqi or Saudi. I said Iraq earlier in the video, but something tells me it's from Saudi Arabia because I have another green that's from Iraq. Anyway, they're from all over the world. Boy, that really makes the sculpture, having a couple of huge pieces on there. So much fun. And remember, this is all on these tiny little legs. Someone was asking me, well, will they crush? And I don't remember the math, but the compressive strength of these materials is insane. I decided to look it up, and I found out that according to industry statistics, each of these legs should easily hold about 100,000 pounds of straight downward pressure. I mean, the mountains are made of them, and the stuff at the bottom is still intact, so it gives you an idea. They can take a lot of downward pressure. I am already getting excited about the idea of placing rocks in all these really cool spaces being created here out of so many exotic stones from around the world. Sometimes I am becoming reluctant to bring rocks home because I don't like to just pile them someplace on the ground. But this project will enable me to have ample space, including plenty of dry, sheltered niches for those rocks that don't do well in more exposed environments. Well, my friends, we've made a lot of progress in this 4th video. We've added most of our height compared to what we had before. I would venture we're about 1/3 of the way done. It's going to be a little taller than what I was originally planning, but the material goes a lot further when you leave these spaces. Look at all these beautiful stones from all over the world showing. I researched this guy again, the Verde Fantastico. And out of about 10 different websites, I got like 8 locations. But most seem to point to either Saudi Arabia or Iraq. And in the stone business, it's really hard to trace exact origins because a lot of companies are just stores. You know, they sell tile and carpet and granite. So whoever they got the granite from, that's where they say it's from, you know. But there's a lot of hands in the mix between the quarry and where the blocks are processed and the granite shops, the granite supply yards in the ports, and then the supply yards in your city. It's a long chain, and so it's kind of hard to get exact locations sometimes. The more common or well-known colors are a little easier. For example, pretty much everyone agrees that Violet Paradiso is from India, Verde Fuco is from Australia, Marinacci is from Brazil. This is Seafoam, it's from Brazil. But see, something like this, it's a slab we only had one time, and it was like 20 years ago. I have no clue other than to go online and look at pictures of slabs and try to find it that way. Brass blue from India. This stuff's really pretty. Anyway, we are at the point now, before I go up anymore, and I'm not going to record this because it'll take me days to do. But you'll see I have a lot of the, by the way, this is Red Dragon from China. So I have a lot of these little broken pieces and strips. You can see I've been digging into this pile a little bit, but I have plenty of small pieces. So what I intend on doing with all that really small stuff, for the sake of structural integrity as well as looks, I don't like, for example, a gap like this, where there's only one slab thickness of space. I don't like to leave those spaces, so I will take these little chunks, and they're all different thicknesses, so it's a matter of feeling. So like this will go in there, but it's a little too big. See, then it sticks out and makes another space. So I just have to go around feeling where will this fit and fill in a gap. So like up here, here's a gap, but this piece of material is too thick to go in there. So it's just very, oh, there we go. That'll go in there. Yeah, that goes in there nicely. Doesn't quite fill the gap, but it makes it better. But that's what I want, is a fairly snug fit, because that provides strength to the structure. And it also, the other reason I want to do that is I want weight here in the middle, because I'm not going to show rocks here in the middle. But I want that space heavy so that when there's big rocks out here on the edge, because it'll be several tons of rocks, I don't want it to pull apart. I don't want, you know, if it's too far out from where these legs are, it could tip. Not the whole sculpture, but it'll tend to open, kind of like a butterfly opening its wings, and we don't want that. So I want to get weight in the middle. You know, on this side, I did a pretty good job filling in the gaps as I went. I still see a few though. For example, right under here, I might put something. But I actually did a pretty good job on this side. It looks better than on the other side. I saw some pretty good gaps. Anyway, well, that's where we're at. Thanks for coming along. Video 5. I'd like to say in the next video we might get done. But I thought I'd be done in this video. Or I thought there was at least a chance. Or nowhere near. Anyway, God bless you guys. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that good YouTube stuff. It really helps us out.